From hurricanes and wildfires to floods and tornadoes, natural disasters are becoming more frequent, more severe, and more costly. So how are insurers preparing for this new reality? Increasingly, the answer is artificial intelligence, or applied intelligence, as our next guest calls it. In this next interview, Phil Karecki, the Chief Technology Officer at Ensono, shares how insurers are using advanced tools such as predictive modeling and real-time climate data to not just respond to disasters, but to get ahead of them. It's a fascinating look at what he views as applied intelligence and what it means for the future of natural disaster risks and insurance. Hi, Phil. It's great to be speaking with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Elizabeth. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to speaking with you. I know you have a ton of expertise in the subject, and I think it's a really interesting one with AI and disaster risk management. But before we get into some of the questions, I was curious about you, your background, some of the work that you do. If you could just give a brief intro.
Oh, absolutely. So Phil Karecki, insurance CTO for Ensono today. 30 plus years in technology sector, most of them with DXC project. But importantly enough, very broad from a technology perspective. Started my heyday personally with the internet boom, and things have carried forward from an innovation, data, AI, intelligence function from that point in time. So a lot of heavy engagement with AI. The sector drives that as well, and a continued growing need. And I'll set this up and we can get into the real questions, but AI is a smart person's tool, okay? And how you use it and what you do with it is what's invaluable. Recognize that you really need a plan for what you want to achieve, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of smart data and you won't get the value you expect if you didn't work towards what you want or educate the AI to meet your needs. So that sets the context for everything we're going to talk about from here.
Yeah, and that's great context. I know it's an exciting industry to be working in, but there is so much and it's changing all the time that it's important to know how to harness these tools. So I'm glad to be talking with you about this. And I was curious, I guess just to start off, I'm curious how you're seeing AI sort of changing the way that insurers approach disaster risk management compared to more traditional methods.
Absolutely. If actually we're honest with ourselves here too, we've been utilizing data in a similar fashion for years now. I can go back to my first presentation around AI in 2018. Pre-COVID. But before that, we've had OSHA information, we've had GPS information, we've had a wealth of materials, both historical and real-time, that we were consuming to do elements of predictive pricing, underwriting, risk management. What's happened is that the tools have obviously increased from AI, ML, RPA, etc., to a true AI, and now the agentic terminology. We'll set agentic aside because I don't believe it really impacts this conversation, and it's more an overlay on how AIs operate than it is anything else. What's changed is the impact that AI is having because of the data that's around it, right? It's not the AI's ability to collect the information. It does that very, very well. It's the intelligence of the organization understanding what other data that they need to know in case of climatic change, catastrophe, forest fires, and so forth. I think the simplest example is we've had for long-standing periods of time climate data, rainstorm predictions, etc. But that doesn't really help you understand your risk if you can't also look at where the building development is being done. Is there deforestation going on? So a slope with a bunch of trees on it is a safe bet. Big rain doesn't have much of an impact. Take those trees away, look at California, now those mudslides, the destructive capacity, you need to pair that. So what AI allows you to do is ingest new forms of data that are truly important to how you assess risk, how you do underwriting, in fact, in some cases, how you manage claims. That's the big change. It's the data out there. AI's impact around that is the ability to intelligently gather it and relate it to existing data and other components. That's where it helps the most. Early in my career, I made the simple mistake of trying to tell an insurance carrier I was smarter at analytics than they were. I know. Centuries of background, an awful lot of detail, and a wealth of experience that I was never ever going to have. But I can make them faster. I could bring in new data sources. I could do all the things that they needed to be better at what they were already better than I was at. And so that's kind of the philosophy and the understanding, right? Our responsibility as an MSP, our responsibility as consultants and industry experts are to understand the limits that you have within the sector and then help them expand upon capabilities which are critical to their business success. And this now helps you predict, helps you understand that that house built on the side where all the trees are suddenly removed is at greater risk for funding and insuring than the house sitting next to it still within the old growth woods. And so it's being smart about situational climate as well as the broad direction, temperatures, and so forth, and making sure you're placing proper bets on how to prevent climate catastrophe. Climate can't change. Catastrophes, the coverage, and the underwriting that follow, you absolutely have control over that.
You've been watching a sneak peek of AI on the front lines of disaster risk management. Click on the link in the description to watch the full webinar.